Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm your host today on Archery Talk 101, and I have a special guest with us today. Kurt's going to be talking with us about his archery adventures, and I'm sure he has a lot of cool stories, and we're going to be talking archery for the next hour or so, um, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Now, before we get started, I want to let everybody know that you can watch this video in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. We go live when we record, as well as you can go out to my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. They're out there, as well as you can go out to archerytalk101.com. That's where you can watch the video. If you want to watch the audio, you can go out on Spotify, Apple. You can go out to Apple's podcaster, as well as you can go out to audible.com, and you can listen to our video or listen to our videos, listen to our audios at a time. So let's get on with the show. Kurt, how you doing today?
Hey Roy, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, how about if you introduce yourself and give us a little background about yourself so we can get to know you a little better?
Yeah, I'm Kurt Belding. I so hunting related stuff. I own Western Obsessions TV, which is a hunting show, which I go out and have some cool hunting adventures that I film, share with my followers. It's on Carbon TV, Waypoint TV, YouTube. Do a lot of stuff on Instagram. But my full background is I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 plus years. And kind of my story is I was an entrepreneur for a long time. I turned 40 and I decided I'm not going to call it a midlife crisis. I'm going to call it a midlife adjustment. I don't, maybe it was a crisis, but I just don't like admitting it.
Yeah.
I sold all my businesses, closed, sold, got rid of, did everything I can to free myself. And now for the last 4 years, I'll be 44 here tomorrow. I've been traveling the world, going on the coolest hunting adventures that I can go on, filming them and entertaining others.
That's pretty cool. Now, how would they get a hold of you if they wanted to watch some of your videos? Um, what would be the
Yeah,
best way to catch up on what you're doing?
probably the best platform is my YouTube channel, Western Obsessions TV. I have all my long form episodes for like all my hunts are on there, but also I do a lot of educational content around bow hunting and just hunting in general. There's a lot of educational content too, so hopefully they'll find some stuff they like.
Yeah, and we can put a link in the description to your YouTube channel and make it a little easier for them to find.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm just gonna pop it up here and see if I can get to your channel. I
You
think
you
this
going
is
on?
this is it.
Yeah.
Oh, got an ad, of course. Well, let me expand the screen here, and I'm going to share the screen here, and we can take a look at it.
Sure.
Um, there we go. There's you on there. I expanded it out. So this is kind of a first part here.
Yeah, that's kind of my my latest video on little pointer tip and trick, I call them, on trying to be
Can you hear the
quiet in the
sound?
woods.
I don't think you can hear the sound on that one because I forgot to click the button when I shared the screen.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah, yeah,
sound.
you know how that goes. You forget to share the screen and there it is. Stop sharing. I have three screens, and it's like, okay, what did it pop up on next? So yeah, we can kind of go through here. That's your video there, and um, you have some other stuff here. Let me go ahead and share that out and make sure I turn on the sound. Share sound. There we go. That way we can hear it and see what's going on. Let me expand this out. We need to see the rest of my stuff here. And that is your intro video, right?
Crichton and
No,
Son
that's
first
a
steps,
video that I
whether it be
talk about
in the mountain or in the woods
um,
or in a jungle like I am
walking
right now.
quietly. It's a pointer and a tip and
Just want
trick
to
that
avoid the
not
heavy foot,
you
which
don't
is
think
either
about it often
from
as a
heel to the
being
front
that
of.
important, but that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have that on there. That's pretty good to start with. And then let's see what else you have.
You just click go up and click the icon there, you should be able to go to my page.
Up here.
My logo down there in the lower left, it should be.
Oh, okay, there it is. All right, there we go. Now that's where we wanted to go. Is
Yep.
let's see here. You've got all your little videos out here. A lot of good information out here. Yeah, if you're looking to get out there, it's YouTube. It's at Western Obsessions TV, and it makes it really nice because you don't have to worry about all these numbers and letters. Once you figure that out, it's kind of nice. You can just go to wherever you want your channel to be. Yeah, you've got quite a few videos out here. So yeah, those of you that are interested in looking at some of these videos, that those look like they'd be pretty good. You've got some videos that are moving along pretty good and have quite a few views on them. And I kind of like how they're doing them now. They tell you I have vidIQ on there, and it tells you how that's doing rated to other videos on your channel.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. And I know I've talked to others that video their hunts and stuff, and you think, it'd be fun and easy. You just go out there and video. Yeah, it's way more than that.
Sometimes I have a videographer that comes along with me, but a lot of times I'm self-filming, and it really throws a whole element into your hunt when you're trying to film and hunt at the same time. It's pretty difficult. It's pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, I did that once this last season during rifle season. I set up over the top where my ladder stand was at, because they hadn't been coming through. So I was set up and I got the tripod there. I got my camera. Now I'm just using, nothing fancy, just my regular phone. But my regular phone has more features on it than most digital cameras, without spending thousands of dollars. And so I've got the camera on the tripod, and I'm waiting here, and I'm looking. So then you got to get it started, and then you got to let it go. And then I tried zooming in. Of course, you zoom in too much of the camera, and it just kind of starts flittering in and out. So I'm trying to do that video, and here comes the deer on the other side. So I got the camera started, and I'm let that play, and hoping for they come over, and then two more come running through. It runs off, and I didn't get it, video the shot, but at least I had on video seeing where they run off. But yeah, that was nothing really outstanding. Is that I did use it to record the sunrise here because I was sitting there facing the east. So as the sun come up, I got to see the sun rising, and so I videoed a couple of those. But yeah, it could be interesting what all you have to do, especially when you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, and I try to give some good high quality film too. So, I'm looking around two cameras. I got a point and shoot that I use. I call it my kill cam. That's like it zooms real well. Then I've got my nice fancy camera that makes all the pretty shots, and a mirrorless camera. And then I'm using GoPro, and then I'm using my phone. I'm also using a drone. So I've got a lot of stuff that I'm lugging around, and most of my hunts are backpacking hunts where everything I'm carrying on my back. So not only am I carrying all my gear and everything to live on, and my weapon, my bow, but I'm also carrying around 4 cameras too to try to document the whole thing. So it becomes super challenging to do it, but I enjoy it a lot. I really do. Sometimes I curse if the camera gets in the way and I'm not able to get the shot on the whatever species I'm after, whatever animal I'm after. But I do enjoy it a lot. I love documenting my adventures, and that's what it's all about for me, is just my adventures. Just love that's what I'm doing. Just going on many cool adventures as I can.
You're creating the videos for you, and if everybody likes it, that's fine. If they don't, you're not creating them for them. You're creating them for yourself. That's kind of a nice concept to do when you're doing that kind of stuff. Is just do what you want to do for yourself, and it shows in your work too. It's like you want to do good work, and you know document what you're doing, for others to watch, and get the enjoyment out of it you are.
Yeah, and sometimes I think about why am I doing this? I go back to my why a lot. And one of the big reasons is I didn't know my great grandpa, right? Like your great great grandpa, if you get a picture of your great grandpa or great great grandpa, you're pretty lucky, right? So
Right.
my great great grandkids can now go and find videos of their great great grandpa Kurt and what he does, right? So if they want to,
Right. Yeah.
Kurt is their great grandpa Kurt, they can go watch a hunt that I did in the 2020s, and this might be 2050s or whatever, and they get to see who I am, right? So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because I know I have some pictures of my great grandpa and grandma, and I was old enough to remember them. Uh, but then my grandparents this is all on my mom's side because none of my dad's side was still alive by the time I was born. So, you get the little pictures, but it's sure been nice to have pictures of my grandpa on my dad's side because he raced the little midget racers. That have been cool to have pictures of him actually racing and stuff. And you can't get that because back then they didn't really take more than just a still. They didn't have movie cameras like they do now. Um, and so, that's what's nice is you're documenting this for your kids and your grandkids and great grandkids. And as long as the video is still around, then come back and see what you did and see
That's
why
right.
you love what you're doing and
Yeah. Yeah. So
hopefully get inspired.
yeah, and that's one of the big reasons why I do it.
So I'd always go back and he's like had this nice memorable hunt, and you go back and watch the video of it yourself, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that one.
Mm.
That was a challenge.
No, for sure. And obviously we keep and some of our best experiences are hunts, right? So we keep a lot of that memory in our mind anyway. And then sometimes we have taxidermy, like you can see behind me, that will
Right.
trigger memories of that hunt. But now I get to take it one step further and go back and relive and rewatch that hunt. And not everything makes the cutting floor, right? So not every moment
Right.
is in that film, but I get to relive it again, which is really nice.
Right. Yeah. And we've talked about this on a couple of guys that record them too, but creating YouTube videos, I might have an hour and a half, 2 hours of video. And by the time I'm done, I might have a 30 or 40-minute video.
Yeah, at the most.
And I have to watch that whole hour and a half or 2 hour video just to see what I need to cut out, what I need to keep. And then at least once they go back and then you edit it again. And I've spent, create a 45-minute video. I sometimes I've spent 2, 3 hours at least just to get a 45-minute video out.
Oh shoot, man. It takes me on a 10-minute episode, it probably takes me 40 to 80 hours to get that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not real fast at it either. I'm not real efficient, but I probably have close from 700 to 1,000 clips that I'm going through, B-rolls and narratives and animal footage. And so I not only do you have to go through all the footage, but you also have to put a plan in your mind on putting it together that makes sense and
Right.
might entertain somebody, so it takes a very long time to get a 10-minute episode out. So I really hope my followers enjoy my 10-minute episodes.
Yeah. Well, and mine, a lot of mine are how-to videos. So actually recording me doing something and a lot of it, I had one that I just like, okay, as I'm doing this over and over and over and over, I'll just cut that section out and just kind of transition into it. You don't need to watch me as I'm making a string, wrap the string around, 20 times and start twisting, wrapping the serving and I can cut some of that out because you don't really need to sit here for 20 minutes watching me make a string when I can condense it to 10 minutes and cut out the stuff that's not important. And,
That's right. Yeah.
and that's kind of fun making those videos. And, I've been doing this for, the podcast, we're on our third season doing it. This one I think is podcast number 171. So
That's
I've done a
cool.
few podcasts. Nice about the podcast is I record them, upload them to the to Spotify, and it takes care of sending out wherever it needs to go. And then when I do the video, I'll create a thumbnail in Canva that I put on it, which will basically have the title and then what it was about. And then I upload it. And when I upload it to YouTube, then I'll put the ending screen on it and the little thumbnails on it and done. I don't edit the podcasts. They go, what do we say? We say. They go straight.
That's nice. Yeah, and I podcast also, and I used to do visual podcasts where I put it on YouTube, and I don't anymore just because I feel like most people like to listen to the podcast rather than watch the podcast. So now and I don't edit it either. So whatever happens on the podcast happens, right? So
Yeah.
and I always warn my guests, hey, if there's something that you say that you're like, "Oh, I don't know if I should have said that. Sorry, it's in the podcast. I'm not editing."
Yeah, kind of like me. I don't edit the podcast. And what's your podcast about?
It's it's called Western Obsessions TV's podcast, and I just have a variety of guests on it, from educational stuff, maybe it's about. I just had a guest from Bow Hitch. He has a product that like helps you carry your bow on your pack more efficiently. Tooth of the Arrow Broadheads, I had their main guy on here. Just random stuff, man, but all about hunting. It's all about hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so yeah, I'll put a link to your podcast in the description as well. So get them out there
Yeah,
and
that'd be
listen to your podcasts. And hey, if we can promote each other's podcasts, let's do it, because it's all about archery and everybody has a different story. Like you, I'll interview manufacturers. I had Thunderhead Broadheads on. I had Tommy Floyd from NASWAN. Um, and what is it? True Ball Releases. I had them on. A lot of different ones. You go back and look, uh, over 170 videos or podcasts. I've had a lot of people in different companies, and we promote their companies, and then a lot of archers from all over the world. It's interesting to talk to archers from another country. Like I've talked to some in Ireland, some in England, Germany, Croatia, Belgium, South Africa. And there's many other countries. I'm forgetting all of them, but yeah, it's interesting, the stories that you hear from different archers from all over the world, and it's kind of like we're a worldwide family.
Yeah, you have that commonality, right?
Yeah,
And I've felt that too. I hunt outside the United States quite a bit. I've done a lot of Mexico, Canada, a lot of hunts there, but I went to Africa a couple years ago. And even when you don't speak the common language, right? Like their English was not very good. And obviously I was in Zimbabwe, so I think it's like Zimbabwean or whatever. I'm not sure the language there,
yeah,
but I couldn't speak it, right? But we could speak hunting through like a charades, or like, we just knew hunting, right? So like there's a common language there for hunters. There's a common bond. It's like family. Once you're
right.
a hunter, you just know each other very well, typically, so. And I found that from hunting all over the world. No matter where I hunt, whether or not I can speak the language or not, you can still speak hunting,
Yeah, yeah. That is definitely something that you don't have to speak the language. That
Mhm.
you can even help an archer out that don't even need to speak the language because you don't have to say anything.
Yeah,
If they're struggling with something and they want some help, then you can make physical changes in what they're doing, and show them, and they can learn. We can all
yeah,
learn from each other, whether we speak or not.
yeah.
Whether you know the
Uh,
language and don't know the language, do we know the archery language? So what got you started in archery?
oh man. And I hunt all type of weapons. So I do gun hunting, archery, shotgun, black powder, I do everything. But I would say my passion is I lean towards archery. I like that probably the most. And I think I like it the most because it's just fun to do. So how I got started as a kid, right? I was lucky where my dad and my mom both hunted. And I got to grow up with them hunting and shooting my bow. And back then, the bows definitely are not what they are today. I remember
No.
shooting a compound bow that had no let off, right, and no sights, aluminum bent up arrows, and you're lucky if they had all their fletchings on them, right? Like that's how I started off archery hunting, just instinctive bent arrows, no sights, one fletching on the arrow, right? So, um, and things have advanced a lot today, obviously, but I just really enjoy shooting my bow. It's just so much fun. You can get obsessed in it where like, you're down to the micro details and nerd out about arrow weights and FOC from centers and flights with, do I use a 3 fletch versus 4? Do I have a helical on my fletching? Well, how drastic is the helical? Or, like micro arrows down to, there's just so much things that you can nerd out about. And most of it doesn't matter a lot, but it may matter a few percentage where you add up all those little percentages and now you're getting a lot more efficient at shooting and a lot more deadly. So I just really enjoy shooting my bow. I'll just go
Yeah.
out on a little acreage. I'll go out and shoot my bow quite often. It's just fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun setting them up and shooting, and there's just so much you can do. There's, if there depending on what you want to do with archery, it could, maybe you want to shoot a bow, and all your only desire is to just fling arrows in your backyard.
Mm.
You can go for there. If you
Yeah.
want to start doing in 3D tournaments or in target archery, or you want to start going into semi-pro and pro, and you want to get into Olympics archery, and there's just so many things you can do with it, and so many different styles of bows. You got your recurve and long bows and compound bows and crossbows, but then there's also bows that are designed for shooting off of horses. There's uh, other styles of bows that are just kind of completely different. I seen one. It looks almost like a complete circle when it's unstrung,
Huh.
and then when you string it, it just bows back, and it's there's so many different bows, and there's some where the top is real long compared to the bottom because it's so long. It's real long, and you don't shoot them in the middle. There's just so many different ones. What do you want to do with it? And
Yeah.
that's the first thing we ask. Somebody's thinking about starting in archery is, where do you plan to take it? What are you trying to get out of archery? Is it just having fun in the backyard? Well, then maybe start off with something inexpensive and just start flinging arrows.
Yeah, that's right. And for me, it's, I enjoy shooting my bow, but I'm not a stick bow guy. I'm not a traditional guy because for me, it's about how can I be as efficient as possible on killing that animal in the most humane way. So if I
Right.
have to do a bow hunt or if I'm doing an archery hunt, I'm going to do a compound hunt. I'm going to have sights. I'm going to have everything dialed in the best I can be to have the tightest groupings at the longest range to be the most efficient I absolutely can on killing that animal that I'm in. So that's just for me though, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for that. When there are those that like to use the traditional equipment, but they know their limits. They might be only 10 yards. They got to be within 10 yards because that's the only way they can efficiently know that they can perform a killing shot. Some go out farther depending on how much you practice and stuff, whatnot. But yeah, you just gotta have to set up the best you can, and if you're not sure how to set it up, well, ask somebody. The couple podcasts I did before this, and when this one comes out, the two before it, I talked about setting up your rest, how to set it up. There's a couple different ways you can do it. I'm not going to it now. You can just listen to the podcast. And then I got into the next one on how to adjust your sights and different methods that you can use for adjusting. Because after all, you want to be able to group really tight, like you said. You
Yeah.
know, how tight your group is depends on what your error is you can have in your judging your yardage.
Mhm.
And you just need to know how you shoot at different ranges.
Yeah, ranges and consistency with your form, also your aiming form. If you don't have a tight group at a specific range, maybe it's a close range, maybe a far, it's has a lot come down to your form, what's happening when you're shooting.
Oh yeah.
There's some inconsistencies there in your shooting form. It's not
And,
tight
and
group.
we all have inconsistencies. We just try to minimize it.
Yeah, yeah, you just try to minimize, and that's the thing is, and that's what we practice, right? Is minimize our inconsistencies. Try to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, so you have a higher percentage chance when you have that one shot on an animal that your outcome is going to be kill that animal efficiently, right? So
Right. So it becomes an instinct and not, you don't have to think about it. It's just instinct.
yeah,
You go there, you do it. And, you know, I had I've got a level on my sight I never look at it anymore. I don't even know it's there. I draw back. I've done it so many times, check, okay, it's level, it's level, it's level. Now, if I'm on a hill, I will check it there. But other than that, I don't I don't even realize it's on there because I don't even look at it. I go through the whole process. I have a whole process I go through when I shoot, and
Yep.
and being consistent is the key. And whether we're shooting bows or shooting rifles or anything else, got to be consistent. And that's the point that you get into. I've set up rounds for, because I reload. I've set up rounds for my .6 and my 270, and when I tested them out at the indoor range, see which one grouped. My 270, I put 3 shots in the exact same hole. Couldn't tell there was 3 shots. And
That's
my
great.
.6, you could tell there was 3 shots, but only because the paper was bent slightly more. So basically,
Yeah.
at 3 shots in the same hole. Uh, that's why you reload, to get the precision. That's why you go through setting up your rest to be exactly where it needs to be. Set up your sights where they need to be, and practice your form is consistent every time. And that's why we do it, so we can get those good shots.
That's right. Yeah, consistently. Not only that, but like helps with panic, target panic,
Right.
and because when you have buck fever, bull fever, whatever, if you've shot 1,000 arrows over the last few months, then things become like breathing, like you said. Like you don't even realize that what you're doing. You're just going through your shot process without even realizing. Yeah.
Right. And I shoot back tension release. I've told story when I first heard about it. I couldn't figure out what they were talking about. Why? How do you know where you're going to aim? Well, shoot, if you don't know when you're going to pull, well, the trigger goes off. Well, once I learned, it's like, oh, okay. Then you learn and you develop, and every time we get out there, you practice a bit more, and then I'll do some shooting, and I'll look at my form. It's like, now that ain't what I tell people to do. Why am I not doing it? And it's like, okay, I got to fix my form. And that's nice about videos. You can video yourself now, where when I was
Oh
first
yeah.
learning this in the mid 90s, you had VCR tapes.
Oh yeah.
You're recording yourself on a VCR tape and trying to play them back. And yeah,
Mhm.
most of my instructing when I first started was just watching them live, because there was no cameras and the phones then out in those days.
Yeah.
And you just have to watch them. So you have to shoot them multiple times now. Take one video, and we can start analyzing that one shot.
Yeah, that is nice about having a camera on your phone. Is it makes it nice and easy to record. And recording does come in handy. I do a lot of fitness also, and right now I own a CrossFit gym, so I do a lot of like teaching and training and coaching of CrossFit. And the easiest way to teach someone to change a form is by video them and then let them see what you're talking about, right? So same thing in
Right.
archery is if you're like, hey, you punched a trigger, or you flinched, or whatever, your anchor point's been different, whatever it is, right? You can film them and you can say, see, this is what you're doing. Like, then it clicks in the brain. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. Mhm.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about watching yourself shoot, and after you watch enough people do them, it's like they draw back, they're going to pull the trigger. Sure enough, they pull the trigger, and they pull their hand out, and like, no, I can tell they're already going to pull the trigger. Yeah, I've done that before. It's like, find out someone's an archer, you ask them if they use a wrist strap, and they say, yeah. And it's like, I'll give you first lesson free. Quit pulling the trigger. I say, huh? How do you know I'm doing that? I've taught hundreds of people how to shoot. You're pulling the trigger. And most times, yeah, they are. And then I'll go through, show why you don't want to pull the trigger. And it's one of those things where fine motor skills come into play. Aiming is a fine motor skill. Moving your fingers is a fine motor skill. You can't do it at one time. And some people think they can. And it's like, oh yeah, I can do it. Aim at a point and don't think about your finger, make it move. And it's, oh yeah, I can do it. Switch hands. It's like, they can't do it. And if they say, oh yeah, I can do it, then lesson's over. They're not teachable.
Yeah. Right.
So tell us about your most memorable hunt you've been on.
Archer hunt or hunt in general?
Either one.
One. I'll give you one of each, maybe. Most memorable hunt. Oh man, I've got a good one for a rifle hunt. So I grew up in the Midwest, and there's no elk hunting in Nebraska. That's where I'm from. So I moved out to Colorado 15, 18 years ago and started elk hunting. So I got to get pretty good elk hunting. Um, Long story short, my mom is a hunter. She's always wanted to elk hunt. So I took my mom elk hunting for her first time. And it was a rifle hunt, first season. So it's in like early October. And we went up and I horsebacked her up. We went to canvas tents, and it had snowed and just destroyed our tents. And
Oh,
anyway, we're having a hard time. And it wasn't comfortable. There was no elk up there because it snowed. And so, there's that big low of hunting. And I mean, I desperately wanted to get my mom an elk, right? So, I remember going as a kid, I would go out hunting with my mom just as much as I would with my uncles and my dad. And we just, I just really enjoyed it, and she'd enjoyed it, as I know how much it had meant to her. So we made a couple different moves, went to a different spots, packed out the camp. Long story short, we ended up killing a bull, and my mom would just tears, and I'm with tears, and just super emotional. It wasn't a huge bull. It was a nice little 5x5, but man, that was probably by far my most memorable hunt, giving that experience back to my mom. And it's an episode, so I get to go back and watch it whenever I want.
oh
And
yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, and every time I do, I get chills just watching it. So that was by far probably my most memorable hunt there.
So what
Um,
what part of Nebraska were you from?
it's the southeast corner by like just about an hour south of Lincoln.
Oh,
Tecumseh
okay.
is the town that I
Oh,
grew up
Tecumseh. Oh yeah, I've been there a
in.
few times.
Yeah.
I'm in Ithaca, which is in between Omaha, Lincoln, and Fremont.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
So
exactly
the
where you're at.
little bitty village.
Yep. Yep. So you just head south, and that's where I grew up, southeast corner, Nebraska. And I go back. I went back and did some whitetail hunting this last whitetail season. Shot a real nice whitetail with my bow, and that was a fun one. I rattled him in with a decoy, and he come in ready to fight that decoy. That was a
Oh,
pretty neat. That was
that
pretty
that's cool. I've never used a decoy when I'm doing them, but because I just don't want to carry all that stuff out in the
cool.
field.
Yeah, yeah.
It's enough to carry the bow and my backpack and everything else, and then when I was videoing the hunt, I had a chair to sit on plus the tripod to carry, and fortunately
Mhm.
I didn't have to walk very far because I could drive in the field and park on one side of the hill because I had another side of the hill, so I didn't have to walk very far. But man, it was a lot of work just carrying those two extra things.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, like I said, I do a lot of backpack hunting, so every ounce counts for me, because
Yeah.
I'm typically my pack weighs anywhere from 65 to 80 pounds that I'm carrying, depending on what I'm doing, what my hunt is. And then if you kill an animal, you're carrying out 100-pound loads of meat, right? So
Oh yeah.
yeah, carrying weight, that's what I do on most of my hunts. I went to Adak Island, Alaska, and did a caribou hunt. And that was probably my most physical hunt I've ever done. I think it was close to 60 miles in 5 days on Adak backpacking. And me and my camera guy both killed a caribou at the same time, and end
Oh,
up packing out a, I packed out an entire caribou on my back, 5 miles to the shoreline to get picked up. But we also had to go 5 miles back to our camp. And we started at like 9 a.m. and we didn't get back to our camp until about midnight. So,
oh,
that's 14, 15 hours straight hiking. And that was probably the toughest moment I've had is trying to get back to camp in the dark. And we end up kind of like losing camp because I forgot to put it on Onyx, a pin on Onyx camp was. So we're stumbling around in the dark at midnight. It was not fun, but I look back on it now, and something that I accomplish is a challenge. I'm all about doing really hard things, physically hard things. I enjoy that a lot. Not in the moment typically, but looking back of like, yeah, I was able to accomplish that. What else could I accomplish? So yeah.
yeah, that definitely got to be fit in order to start doing that kind of hiking.
Oh yeah, man, that's a big part of what I do. Like that's kind of like, I guess if I talked about my branding, right, is I want to hunt till I'm 80 at least, and the type of hunting I want to do. So fitness is a really big part of me hunting because I do a lot of archery elk hunting. I do a lot of mountain backpack hunting, and you have to be very fit and very in shape to do that type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you do. It just, you can easily, get it where you're not doing as much working out and activity, and then, steps start killing you, and then you start doing more steps, and then it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, you definitely, if you're going to do something like that, you got to be in shape. His last thing you want to do is go hiking through the mountains and then get quarter way up the mountain, and you still got to go all the way out, and then not, and you're worn out and taking a break.
Yeah, I mean, that's increasing your chance of success. If you can't stay out in the mountain because you're wore out, beat up when you want to go home, then you're not going to kill anything, right? So, man, last year between elk season, so I had an archery elk hunt, and I went from my archery elk hunt right into my caribou hunt in Alaska. So my elk season, I probably spent like 12, 13 days on the mountain right into the caribou hunt. But within a span of like 30, 45 days, I lost 30 pounds and I don't have a lot of weight to lose. So I looked like I was people that didn't, hadn't seen me in a little bit, they're like, holy cow, Kurt, what is wrong with you? Are you dying? And it looked like I was dying. Like there was nothing left of me, man. I was withered away, but it's hard hunting. But I really enjoy that hunt. And I'm assuming, Roy, since you're growing up in the Midwest, you do a lot of whitetail hunting with stand hunting, and that's
Yeah.
hard in a different way. It's not as physically as hard, but it's mentally hard. It's, the rut's on and you're sitting in a tree stand from sun up to sundown, trying to stay warm, not moving, being as still as possible. Mentally, that's really tough.
Yeah, and then too, as you get older, you start getting stiff and sore, and then you go to stand up, and okay, your body says no, you're not standing up, and so you got to stand up, everyone, just to keep moving, and
Mhm.
as you get older, the sitting for a while, and even when I was younger, sitting for a long period of time, I'd get stiff. When I was
Yeah,
younger, I speed skated, and just sitting in a car for a while, I'd get out and I'd look like an old man just trying to walk till I get loosened up, and then I'm going to a speed event where I'm going to go, skaters to your mark, go, and we're going sprinting. And I can't hardly get out of a car because I've been sitting so long, and I'm still that way. Where if I sit too long, it's like, I get up hard and move around, then I'm okay. You know,
yeah,
I can move around more than I can sit.
yeah. No, that's true. And I got into saddle hunting a lot the last few years, and that kind of helps out a little bit. To be honest with you, it's I think it's more comfortable than sitting in a tree stand is on the saddle, and then archery elk hunting is you're moving constantly
Right.
pretty much, unless you're on top glassing. But it's coming down the mountain that's actually harder than going up the mountain. I've found.
Oh, yeah. Well, just like going down steps is harder to me going up steps because, you get that jarring, and as you get older, your knees don't like you going down steps. So I started going up steps at work instead of taking the elevator. I'll take steps up, but I try to take the elevator down just because it's a little harder on my knees. That
Mhm.
jarring stopping where I can climb up just fine. Now, after the last few months of doing that, it's killing me the first few, but now it's starting, instead of taking them one at a time, I go 4 flights of stairs. I take them two at a time now, and where the first time 3 flights almost killed me. So you gotta stay in shape, and what I was doing for the last couple of years was mostly sitting on my computer and working from there, and I like to get up and move around once in a while, and that's why I still go skating a couple times a week, and it keeps you busy. And in fact, I'm going tonight after we get out the podcast. I'm going to the skating rink and do some skating for a few hours, and just to
That's
keep
great.
moving, and a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
so important, man. That's a big goal of mine is, like I said, I want to hunt. I want to do archery elk hunting, backpack hunting like I'm doing now for the next 40 years. So there's only one way to do it is to stay healthy, is stay
Yeah,
fit, well, keep my mobility, and stay healthy doing it. So
yeah, you definitely gotta, that definitely helps. And drawing your bow back too. One of the things that I did one time is I was shooting 70 pounds and I'd shoot 70 all the time. I'd go shoot a 300 round, I'd shoot 70. I go to turn, when I shot 70, I just cut. I locked in my form better at 70 than I did at 60. Just for some reason, it just locked in my form better, probably because I had to pull a little harder. And uh, then the winter, the hunting season started, and I quit practicing. I quit doing much shooting. I got out one day, and it was cold. I got my tree stand. And I always like getting a tree stand. I like to draw it back, just make sure everything is there, kind of check out, make sure the limbs aren't in the way. And I couldn't pull my bow back.
Oh shoot.
I'm like, okay, and I pulled and I pulled. There's just nothing I could do to get back. I pulled some muscles someplace in my back and my arm or someplace. I forget where it was at now, but so I just said, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit here for a while, either go home because I can't draw my bow back, or just sit here for a while. Well, I wasn't going home. That's not like going out there. So I sat for a while and I was able to draw it back later, once I warmed up a little bit. But yeah, that was tough that time because I didn't do a lot of practicing once season started. I did all the shooting, and then after that, I never had trouble after that. It was just one morning for some reason I was extra cold or tired or something, and I couldn't pull it back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gotta keep shooting. And I'm a big advocate of high weight draws. Like I have a 70 pound, and the other bow that I have is got a mod that I pull 80. And I know there's a lot of controversy around like that, where a lot of bow hunters will say you don't need that type of weight to kill an animal, and they're right. You don't need that type of draw weight to kill an animal.
No.
And you want to make sure you can, when you draw your bow, you want to make sure you can hold it for a good amount of time without shaking out of the tree either. So
Yeah.
yeah. But the main reason I do it is because I want my arrow to stay flat as long as possible, as flat as possible. And because I do a lot of Western hunting, I do a lot more Western hunting than I do whitetail hunting, because my average shot distances are more like 40, 50 yards rather than 20, 30 yards. And I want that arrow to stay flat as possible, because the only time I've really ever missed an animal is when I have misranged an animal. And if your arrow arcs, if you're not pulling as much weight and you got to put an arc on that arrow, if you're off by a couple yards, 1, 2 yards, you're missing that animal at longer
Right.
distances. But if I can pull 80 pounds and that arrow stays faster and flatter, and if I'm off by a yard or two in my range, I'm still killing that animal. That's the main reason that I do it. And most bows nowadays have an 80% let off, where like holding that drawback is no big deal. And I've worked out regularly, and so I don't have any problem drawing 80 pounds. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on draw weights.
Well, and I've seen a lot of archers, a lot of them on the videos too. You'll see them, they'll struggle and they'll try and draw across their chest and raise up. Well, start with that's using your weakest muscles to draw that bow, and it's a whole bunch of extra movement. You draw back, you move up, gears in the way, or they're just really arching their back and just pulling and struggling. You're shooting too much draw weight.
Yeah.
You've got to crank it down and build up to it, because if you can't point the bow towards the target and slowly draw back like a deer was watching you, you're still trying to draw. If you can't do that, you're drawing too much weight. And that's my opinion on draw weight. If you can shoot more weight and consistently do that, if you don't have to struggle to get it back, go ahead and shoot it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And it's the sky draws, like, and across your body. God, every time I see someone draw across their body, when they're like drawing down here and like pulling it like this to get it,
Yeah.
I'm just cringe, because I might do a video on that actually.
Yeah, that would be
You're
cool.
going to pull muscle, you're going to hurt yourself, stop doing it. And I know, like, their mindset is like, oh, I'm close to my body, so I'm hiding the movement. You're not, you're still moving. But I don't know if this is a visual, you guys are listening to this podcast. I'm a big advocate, and Roy, tell me if it's not your philosophy or not, but here's what I like to do is, when I go to pull my bow, I will point my elbow up and forward. I'll give a little extension forward. And when I pull, I use my lat muscle on the side of my body. That's my big muscle that I'm using to pull my bow back and down, rather than using that little rotator muscle that you're trying to pull across your body in the backside of your shoulder. I have found that where I can, and I do a lot of pull-ups, so these lat muscle are very strong.
Right.
And that's where I can pull the most efficiently. I can pull with the least amount of movement and in the most weight that way too.
Yeah, I don't really use the lat muscles because mine aren't built like yours. But what I'll do is I'll do the same thing. I'll take the bow, uh, lean slightly forward because it's just draw and stand up. And now I'm going to push my holding hand forward as I'm drawing back, and I'm squeezing my back muscles. I'm coming back to my thing. So mine is in my back muscles because they've developed a bit more. I don't come up to use the lats just because I haven't built them like you have. But I keep the elbow down a little bit more. But I'm basically the same thing. I'm using my strong muscles to draw it. Use those back muscles. If you come across your chest, like you said, you're using your biceps. You're using
Yeah,
more bicep muscle to pull that back, and not the back muscles, which are stronger. So, we're similar, but that's where you the same form is there, but there's slight variations the way you do it and the way I do it and the way somebody else would do it. That's why you get a coach that knows how to figure out which way is best for you.
that's right. And yeah, I cringe every time I see that against the body draw, but hey, if it works for him, it works for him. I'm not going to go over there and tell him to do something different, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you see them, they're struggling. They're struggling to pull back 50 pounds, and like, you want to draw more weight?
yeah,
I can help you learn how to draw more weight. Get them up using the back muscles
yeah,
and using the non little muscles. Your biceps aren't really that big of a muscle.
exactly.
Some people it is because they work out a lot, but most normal people, I guess, don't do their biceps quite as much as what they need in order to be able to draw that heavy weight.
When I see people that have shoulder injuries because of shooting their bow is usually in their rotator, right?
Right,
So you can put a lot of stress on your rotator if you're not pulling your bow correctly, if you're not using your big back muscles. Like we
right.
talked about middle back. I use a lot of lat, a big muscle in my lat and middle back to pull mine. But if you're pulling across your body, you're not using those muscles. You're putting a lot of stress on your rotator, especially that backside rotator in your shoulder. And that's where I've seen a lot of injuries. People that are pulling.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because that shoulder is not really designed for that kind of weight.
it's not.
And if you're drawing correctly, have your wrist strap on your wrist. You probably can't see it, but on your arm, you go down to the wrist, and then you have that little bone at the end of your forearm, and then you go to where your wrist actually moves. Well, I see a lot of people will put the wrist strap on the hand itself. That's not it's not a hand strap. It's a wrist strap, so it needs to be onto your wrist. And you can take and if you I've had where my elbow was so sore I couldn't hardly hold anything, but I could still draw my bow because the pressure wasn't in the elbow. And I've shown this before, but if you take a hold of your hand and pull, where do you feel the pressure in your arm? You feel it in the elbow. Now grab up higher. Now pull. Where do you feel it? Your pressure is actually in more of your back and not in your wrist. Because now you want pressure on your elbow, you want pressure on your back. So on the hand, you're drawing with your bicep and your arm. Up higher, you're drawing with your back muscles. And
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
if you're not driving, try that. If you are driving, make sure you stop. You sometimes you stop and try that. Just grab them and just pull on the hand and then pull on the rest. You feel the difference on where that pressure goes into your arm. Because
Yeah,
on your hand, you're going to feel it in the elbow and the shoulder. And pull it on the back, you're going to feel it more in the back.
that's right. No, that's great. That's right. It's good.
Yeah, a lot of things you learn over many years. I become an archery instructor in '95, but I started taking martial arts in the mid '80s. I think it was
Oh,
about
sure.
83, 84, somewhere around in there, and studied that for many years. And I incorporate my martial arts. I took Hapkido, which is a lot of joint locks and throws and arm bars, and learn how joints work. And when I incorporated that with the archery training, that's why I teach a little bit differently than a lot of them do, because I'm going to work on the body mechanics. How does the body work? And, with what you're doing with your, CrossFit, you need to work on body mechanics. How does the body react when you do this? What's the most efficient way to do it? What can you do to not get hurt? And, all that is just stuff that, we pick up over the years. And, I try and teach, I teach a closed stance, but if you don't have the grip correctly, you're probably going to smack your arm because you got that arm in the way, because it is a closed stance. But it's the
That's right.
most efficient way to have your hand go straight to your target.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely go down a rabbit hole on archery. There's so many little things that you can that make a big difference. And
Yeah,
then, but at the same time, it's about, I don't think there's absolutely one absolute correct way. You have to do it this way, because I've seen some different type of techniques, and as long as you're getting the results that you want to get, right? If you're getting the results where you're not getting injured, you're being accurate with your bow, consistent with your bow, consistent with your shooting, who am I to say if that's right or wrong, right?
right. The best way is the way that works best for you.
Mhm.
And,
That's right.
and when I teach, I'm going to teach you the way I do it. And then we're going to modify it to fit you because, like what you said, you're pulling more with your lats because those are pretty strong for you. So, I would teach you the one way, and then your lats are a little stronger. So let's try this and see if that works out better for you. And in your case, it would work out better. Somebody else may be completely different. But I don't think anybody's ever going to draw across your chest is going to say that's a good way to do it.
I agree. Agree.
That's definitely not the way to do it. Yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff we can get into. Like there's a lot of rabbit holes we can go down.
Yeah,
You know,
especially with
and
archery.
yeah, and if there's a rabbit hole you want to go down, somebody wants to go down, just hey, let us know.
Yeah,
We'll go down that rabbit hole with you.
something I want to dig into, tactics. Um, I'm an open book. Anything you want to know, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of information we can do out here and plan, and there's a lot of stuff we can do in this, and there's aspects that we can help you with. So definitely get a hold of us. I'm willing to help if you got a question, get a hold of me. And Kurt, if somebody's got a question, and get a hold of you. And I imagine you probably have a few comment on your YouTube channel. Yeah, hey, what's going on with this? And
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I mean, like I said, I'm an open book, and I do a lot of hunt mentoring too. So, and that was the big thing for me, is coming from Nebraska to Colorado, going from hunting creek lines and small woods in Nebraska, where you just know where the whitetail are. It's not
right.
too hard to figure out, right? Then you come out to Colorado, where it's thousands and thousands of public land in the mountains, where it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack or trying to find an elk. So
Yeah,
I know what it's like to not have that mentor, and how big that learning curve is. So a mentor will help a lot cut that learning curve down years to be successful. So, reach out to me, just search Western Obsessions TV, whether it be my Instagram, YouTube, um, you know, any platform that I'm on, and I'm more than willing to help.
yeah, that sounds like a good plan for those who want some help. Get a hold of it. Like I said many times, the only stupid question is one you haven't asked.
I like
Because
that.
once you ask it, it's not a stupid question because it was your question.
Yeah.
Um, of course, I say it's like if you keep asking the same question over and over and over, we might have to do something different because you're not understanding what we're saying. So I have to change to what I'm answering or way I'm answering. And we've done that. It's like not catching on, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes on. Like I said, when you watch a video of yourself, light bulb goes on. It's like, oh, that's what you're talking about. That's what I'm doing wrong.
Yep. Nope. That's good.
So where do you see your archery in the next few years? Where you plan on taking that?
Yeah, I don't see it being a lot different than what I'm doing now. Um, as you guys can probably tell, I use a lot of fitness in my hunting. and I use a lot of fitness in my archery too. So some things that I do that maybe other people don't do is I'll do high stress shooting where I'll do workout. I'll work out while I'm shooting my bow. So I may put together a workout like I'm going to do 10 squats, 15 burpees, 10 kettlebell swings, and I'm going to take a shot with a high heart rate. And for me, what that simulates is buck fever. That simulates Western style hunting where you've had to put on a stock and you're winded and now it's time to take the shot, calming yourself down, calming your heart rate to make a good shot. So that's something I do a little bit different in archery than maybe most of like Midwest or whitetail hunters don't do. But I have a lot of hunts I still want to go on, a lot of adventures I want to go on. So I see myself doing a lot of different archery hunts. I archery elk hunt pretty much every year. So that's I call that my Super Bowl. That's what I train for all year long is that very physical, intense archery elk hunt. But I've done a lot of other archery hunting. I went to Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and hunted ocellated turkey and brocket deer with my bow. Shot a Cudamonde down there. I've shot pronghorn, obviously deer. I did a bear in Saskatchewan with my bow. Moose hunted with my bow. Like I usually pick my bow first and gun second, but some other things I'd like to, there's a lot of adventure still for me to have, and Alaska's on that bucket list, so I want to do more caribou hunting. I actually pulled a mountain goat tag for this season, so we'll see how that goes in Alaska. I'm excited about that, but yeah, I guess what you can expect is me to continue working out hard, staying in shape, practicing with my bow to be very efficient at killing whatever animal I'm after, and going on a lot more hunting adventures.
What's the number one hunt that you're wanting to get off your bucket list?
It's probably a mature bull caribou is probably my number one hunt. And I know a lot of guys is like, the bighorn ram is their bucket list hunt. And of course I'd love to do that. Just I'm a blue collar guy and those are very expensive hunts. So unless I pull a tag, which is like a once in a lifetime tag and it takes, 30 plus years of applying to draw that, I don't get excited about it because I probably will never go. But a caribou hunt in Alaska is something that it's still possible. And I'm just fascinated by those big C curved antlers that they have. And, I killed a young bull last year in Adak Island in Alaska, and the meat is fantastic.
Oh,
I love elk meat, but I would say caribou is almost better than elk meat. Fantastic meat. Um, so definitely that big bull caribou is on the top of my bucket list.
yeah, I haven't really had much that. I had moose. I went up to Canada moose hunting one year and got a moose, and that was really good meat.
Yeah, moose is really good too.
I don't know how
Absolutely.
it compares to caribou and elk because I haven't shot any of those yet, so I don't have those to compare against. But that moose was really, really good. It was, I
And you
think it
get a
was.
lot of meat too.
Oh yeah, you do. You get a lot of meat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat. I know. I had over 500 pounds. But I brought it back in coolers, and is over
Mm.
500 pounds worth of meat and
Ooh,
bones. Um,
yeah.
the head and hide weighed about 130 pounds. That was just the hide and the
That's
head.
just hard. Yeah. Yeah, dang. They're big
Yeah,
animals. I've not yet shot a moose. I archery hunted for moose in Alberta, but I was not successful. But they're big animals, man, and they're fantastic. I don't know that's definitely going to be a bucket list to hunt too. But caribou just it comes above that for some reason for me.
yeah, yeah. Caribou would be nice. That would be nice to go on a caribou hunt. I'd have to get a little bit better shape. Um, about the time this podcast comes out, I'm almost 69. So, a little harder
Yeah,
to stay in shape as you get older. And
100%. I get it. And 69 is still hunting. That's great.
yeah, well, still working, still skating. It's
Yeah.
the only way to stay young is to keep moving. And the last couple of years when I was, you know, mostly working at home, and it's like, yeah, that took a toll, and it's like work coming back from it.
Yeah, you just don't recover as well as you do when you're younger.
No, yeah, your body hurts more, a little bit more, but you know what? It hurts. Do it again. It hurts. Do it again. It still
Again.
hurts. Well, do it again. Oh, it
Yep.
don't hurt so bad. Do it again. Yeah, that would be exciting to get on a caribou hunt up in Alaska. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, when I first started my midlife crisis, I wanted to go on every hunt imaginable. I just wanted to do everything. And now I'm kind of realizing, there's a lot, obviously I want to do everything, but there's a limit, right? I only have so much money
Yeah,
to do it, and I can only spend so much time away from my family each year. So now I'm very picky on what hunts I go on, because of time and money, right? So it doesn't matter, like I could go here in Colorado to the mountains and do an archery elk hunt over the counter, which the tag cost me $50, but I still end up spending $1,000 in that hunt because of gas and food, and it adds up really fast.
yeah,
So every hunt that I go on, I'm spending $1,000, and then some of them I've gone on outfitted hunts that are up closer to that $5,000 to $7,000, and um, yeah, I guess it gets expensive, and then you got to be really careful, especially if you have a family and how much time that you're spending away. So now I'm very picky on what hunts I go on, and they have to really excite me for me to
yeah.
go on. Yeah.
That way it makes it a little more special.
Yeah, and then it's all special, man. I love being out in nature, um, having that adventure, and that's what it is for me, is the adventure. I can have an adventure sitting up in a tree whitetail hunting, because there's really cool adventures that happens. You can have a fox run below you, or some other wildlife you get to watch, or just spending time in the woods is fantastic. Or you can go to Alaska on a caribou hunt, or a mountain goat hunt this year that I'll be going on. And for me, that's like an ultimate adventure too, right? So they're all adventures in my book.
Yeah, you have a bird land on a branch next to your foot, or
Mhm.
on you. I haven't had it land on
Yeah,
me. I've talked to other guys that, the bird just landed on their shoulder. They just kind of looked at it as like, oh, okay. Just sit there, and the next thing you know, they fly off, and they thought you was a branch, and they just landed on you. And yeah, you see a lot of them. And then the cool ones is when you're up before the sun comes up, and you got your bow hanging in the tree, and you start seeing the sun come up, and all the frost starts forming on everything, your bow and the branches. And your bow's got frost on it now, but you don't care because it's cool. It's cool
yeah.
looking. You get a nice field view. And I think I took a picture of it, but whatever, took a big, I don't have it anymore. But I got the picture up here, of that morning when it was, all the frost was forming on all the branches, and it just looked so neat. And on the way home, there used to be a bunch of row of evergreen trees, and when I'm driving home, they're all frosted over, like you frost your Christmas trees and stuff. That's like a whole row of those there. And it's one of those things that you don't forget. And
Nope. And that's, you know, I guess as a hunter, talking to anybody that might be a non-hunter, if they trying to understand why we do what we do, and maybe they can't get past the killing of an animal part, but it's, for me, that's not even I mean, that's the goal in mind that I'm trying to do, but the 95% of the enjoyment is the pursuit of the animal. That's the adventure for me. It's what's over that next ridge. Oh man, I'm back someplace I've never been. I'm exploring a new area. I saw some cool wildlife, or just having that adventure is really what it's all about for me. And if I end up killing an animal, because that's the goal that I had in mind, that's just icing on the cake.
yeah. Well, I had one guy one time that did a lot of hunting, and used to do rifle. Now he, switched to bow, and he's going, for the, grand slam ball, that, big game animals and stuff. And he said, somebody asked him one time, what's the difference between a rifle hunter and a bow hunter? And he says, your time you spent with the animal. Pre-hunt, no matter what weapon it is the same amount of time. Killed animal to going out, the same amount of time.
Mhm.
Except with a rifle, you might go up there, and it's like your first day, you're up there and you see the animal 100 yards. The rifle, that's chip shot. except for us bow hunters that think it's a long shot. But you know, that's a different story. And then you shoot the animal and your hunt's done. Well, if a bow hunter 100 yards away, we're trying to get closer to it. So you might spend, you know, 3 or 4 days getting close enough to it to make your shot. So
Mhm.
that's why he said the time you spend hunting the animal is the only difference.
No, that's a good point. And there's a lot to be said with that. Getting very personal with that animal, up close and personal, and you got to get in its kitchen, right? Like you got to get in its bedroom
Right.
to make that shot or get close enough for a shot. So
Well, when you're close enough to it that you can see the broadhead change in the hair color as it goes into the deer, you know you're close.
yeah, you're close. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I've seen it as like, oh, I know exactly where it hit. I can see the arrow change, the color changed from the reddish color to the gray color. You know, it's like you seen right where it hit because you cut through that outside layer of hair, and so you know that's close
And that's pretty
when you
close.
when you get them in that close, and you know that's why I've had shots at deer, you know, in the past, you know, with the rifles, like, oh, that's too far away. There's only 100 yards. The rifle, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty close for the rifle. Yeah.
Yeah, especially my new Ot 6, I got it sighted in 200 yards. I'm dead on, so I'm within 3 inches out to 300 yards. So I just put the crosshair on it to go and squeeze. As long as I'm within 300 yards, I don't care.
Mm,
You can't do that with a bow. You know, I'm more in your 20 yard to 30 yards shots. What I'm going to go for. As I get older, I can't see as well, so I don't take those longer shots anymore because I can't see
yeah.
my pins well enough. Yeah, that's yeah, you've talked about several of your different hunts, you know, having, you know, exciting hunts, challenging hunts, and it's all what, besides taking your mom out hunting, what other person have you taken out that's been really exciting and to see how they grow as a hunter?
My daughter, I take my daughter out on hunts and I really enjoy that too. Um, and as if you guys know, when you take someone else on a hunt and they're successful, it's almost like you get more pleasure out of that than you do hunting on your own. So then taking out my daughter, I get to spend time with my daughter, and she's a teenager now. So I get to spend time with my daughter and actually have good conversations because there's no cell service.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and she's stuck with me and she has to talk with me. So, and those are moments that you'll just, cherish that you would never have any other way than going out in a remote world on a mountain with no cell service, just hanging out, you and me and my daughter, right? So those hunts are really special to me. And she's a killer. She's a very good shot. She's killed an elk, she's killed deer, she's killed turkey. She's 14. This year, I think I can draw a first rifle elk tag and give her a really good chance for a big bull. But it's going to be a hard hunt. This is going to be the hardest hunt that she would be going on at date. So I've always kind of kept it easy hunts for her because I didn't want her to have a bad time where she didn't want to go hunting. So it's, turkey
Right.
hunts are fun. Some deer hunts where we don't have to do a lot of hiking. It's a lot of like driving and glassing and that type of stuff. Whitetail hunts where we're sitting in a tent blind for just a couple hours and it's no big deal, right? So, but this one is going to be a backpacking backwoods elk hunt with a rifle. But so it's gonna be, camping in tents and living on freeze-dried food and boiling, filtering your water, and it's gonna be a legit hunt. So I really hope that she enjoys it. I hope we get on some elk and she gets excited. And but we'll see, man. It's you never know with those hard hunts how your kid's going to do with it.
Yeah, you never know. We'll have to have her on the podcast and talk about it or when she gets back.
Yeah, it's if I'm going to ask her in April's the draw for Colorado. So I'll sit down and have a conversation with her. Okay, you sure you want to do this? And if she's all about it, she should draw that tag and we'll go in October. That's when she would go.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
to hear her story if you end up going on it. I'd like to hear her story of her adventures on going on that first really hard hunt.
Yeah. Well, and she doesn't like it when I film and hunt because it screws up the hunt sometimes, right?
Oh,
So I don't know if I'd love to film it and get it as an episode, and maybe I can talk her into letting me do it. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. Well, you may have to, make a deal. It's like, okay, if it comes down to getting video or you're getting the shot, take the shot. We'll figure out the video afterward. We'll create a
Yeah.
B-roll and of what you've done afterwards.
Yeah. I've screwed up a hunt for her while I was filming. It was a deer hunt and with a crossbow. And so ever since then, she's like, "No, Dad, I don't want you to film. You screw up the hunt." So all right, well, we'll see if I can talk her into it.
How'd you mess up the hunt for her?
We're sitting up in a tree stand, and a couple younger bucks came in, but nice bucks. And I don't use a crossbow, so I don't know much about them. So I was borrowing it from a buddy, and she had I gave her the crossbow. I was messing with my camera, trying to get the deer in the frame. I said, "Okay, go ahead and take the shot." And she went to take the shot, and nothing happened. I'm like, "Oh crap, I left it on safety." So I put it off safety. Okay, go take the shot. She did it again. Nothing happened. And I couldn't, I'm like, "What's wrong with it?" And it ended up where the bolt wasn't far enough back to allow the trigger mechanism to fire.
Oh,
So the deer, and I'm messing with the camera, and yeah. So in her mind, I screwed it up because I wasn't paying attention to what's going on with her and the crossbow. I was paying attention with the camera. So I don't know. She's older now and she knows how to shoot. So maybe we'll be okay.
yeah, load your own arrow, so it's her fault if it doesn't go off.
Yeah,
Yeah, some
right.
of the crossbows they have that safety, and if you don't have it back all the way, it won't
Mm,
allow the trigger to engage to release it, because otherwise you'd end up dry firing if it's not all the way back or
mm.
no arrow. Then you dry fire it, and crossbows you get one dry fire, then they blow up.
Yeah. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like a regular bow would blow up, but for sure a crossbow will. But yeah, and I didn't know that, right? So, and it was just barely not far enough back where it wouldn't go
Oh
off. So
yeah,
just barely. And you couldn't tell by just looking at it. Like you just had to like pop it back in there. So yeah,
yeah. She missed it. So, well, that's a lesson learned.
that's a
If it
lesson
doesn't
learned.
go off, make sure it's back all the way, and
Yep.
so that won't happen again.
But you know what? She like a month later, we went and hunted Nebraska whitetail. She shot a big old 5 point. Her first deer, big old 5 point whitetail. And I'm like, "Okay, we're good now? We got you a big deer." And she's like, "Nope, you still screwed up that one in Oklahoma."
You're not going to live that down for a long time.
Not gonna live it down.
20 years from now, she's still going to accuse you of messing up that one hunt.
Messing up that one hunt. I know.
Just like a hunting buddy of mine was, I had this real small 8 point buck come in. The rack couldn't have been more than about 3 inches tall, but it was like a perfect shaped one, skinny body. And I'm looking at it, it's like, it don't look like it's sick or nothing. It just looks like a young buck with a nice rack starting on it. And I'm sitting there, I wasn't going to shoot it, but I was sitting there, and hunting partner decided he was going to done hunt, and he'd come walking up, and scares him off. So I tell him all the time, "Oh, you scared off my 8 point buck by walking up." I was going to shoot it anyway, but
The guy coming at him.
it's one of those things you can always accuse him. Remember when that time you come walking up? Then I had another time, a funny story that he shot a deer and it come run up past me and it head butted a tree. Dead run, it died, dead run, and then head butted the tree and then fell over.
Oh, geez.
And like, okay, I'm still I thought that was kind of funny. It's like all of a sudden the deer comes running up, full speed and it runs into the tree and falls over.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny things happen like that, and
Mhm.
you just gotta enjoy, like you said, enjoy your time in the field, and get to see all the things that you know people don't see that aren't hunters, you know, or at least bow hunters anyway. Because
Mhm.
a lot of the other hunting you do, like with the pheasants and rifles and other stuff like that, you're not sitting still, so you don't get to see and hear, the things going on in the forest.
Mhm.
Like all the birds and rabbits and squirrels are scurrying around. And all of a sudden, it got dead quiet. It was like they all went to bed, all went to sleep, all at the same time, and just completely quiet forest.
That's right, man.
Those
Yeah,
kind of the cool times.
yeah, you see some really cool things out in the woods that you would never experience, in a town or city or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so much fun being out, and it's that's why we do it, right?
That's why we do it, for the adventure. That's why I do it.
Well, remind everybody the ways they can get a hold of you. Those that are still listening, I want to remember, remind them, how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, it's just search Western Obsessions TV and you'll find it. But I'm most active on my Instagram account. I do have a Facebook page. That's where Roy found me. And my Facebook page is just Kurt Belding. And then YouTube, I put out a lot of content on YouTube. So Western Obsessions TV on YouTube. Or you can just go to my website, westernobsessionstv.com, and find all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put links in the descriptions to make it easier for those that are
Cool.
listening to just go in the description of the podcast, and we'll have the links there and make it easier to find you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Roy.
Yeah, it's been real enjoyable talking with you. I know this has been a lot of fun for me, and hopefully it's a lot of fun for you and our listeners. I'm sure they got a lot of cool stories, and like we both said, if you have any questions, get a hold of us. You can get a hold of us, in the places that Kirk just mentioned, or you can get a hold of me through Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. You can get a hold of me on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself, because I have not just videos on archery, but I have all kinds of other stuff. There's something for everybody out there. I'm trying to spread my knowledge of, 60 years of doing stuff and just teach you how to do stuff. And that's why I call it Learn to Fix It Yourself. Get a hold of us, be glad to help. So thanks for being on the show. I really enjoyed it. And, when your daughter gets on that hunt, let's book at a time and get her on here and so we can hear about her story of her first real hard hunt, how it
That'd be
turned out.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll like that.
Yeah, I'm sure she
If
will
not,
too.
we'll get her on anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And
Get her talking about her hunt.
she don't sugarcoat anything. So if she didn't enjoy it, she's gonna let you know too.
And I don't expect anybody to sugarcoat it. Tell it like it is. If you didn't have fun in it, hey, we want to hear why you didn't have fun. You didn't have fun. Well, let's hear it. Maybe somebody else can not have fun, but not have it so bad. Well, my name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Archery Talk 101, and Kurt Belding has been our guest today, and we had a lot of fun today. And make sure you catch us on the next one. We're out there all over the place, and make sure you catch us, and we'll see you on the next one.